Brother Jackson, you stand up. I want you all to turn back there and look at that brother, because he's starting to sprout a seed that I would hope that you all will nurture into that oak that I see as the potential here today. Let's give a round of applause for that. I'd like to give props and all due respect to the sisters and brothers and the workers at Cultural Communications, where he has now done the new Cultural Communications, the Phoenix, rising out of the ashes. And Sister Deborah, where is she? Somewhere in the back there, out there doing what she has to do. And let's hear it for Brother Shabazz, please. Let's hear it. The brother's been doing consciousness-raising work in the community. I have to give thanks to all those who are responsible, to the brothers and sisters at Soul Veg for allowing this consciousness gathering to happen. And I want to give a shout out to my brother in the spirit, on the path, Brother Kidi Obi Owadu, the conscious Rasta. Let's hear it for brother. Let's hear it. That brother is a tireless researcher, and for all of you all who have been caught into the hypnotic trance of T.D. Jakes and the rest of that resurgence of the satanic church of the Roman Empire, I want you to get with him, circle with this brother, because he has some incredible information that's going to blow the lid off of the black church and its culpability in the destruction of all of your liberation movements. I know that's going to hurt, because we got to get these Negroes from out of the way. They're blocking up that very, very narrow, straight and narrow hallway with their tired, fodder-driven bodies, and have nothing, absolutely nothing to offer us except fever. So I want to, again, if I'm forgetting anybody, I want to give all shout out to good brother Akhenaten and the brothers and sisters down at the station, WRFG. And lastly, but not least, to everyone here who are here to energize this space, who's going to be the fuel for this starship, this light ship that we've just boarded. So you can give yourselves a big African Kemeteu round of applause. Yeah, come on, fever it up. You know, it takes a lot for everybody to not go the way of the cattle and the sheeple. For you being here is a testament, not only to what it is that the work is about, but to yourselves. The fact that there is a part of you, there's a part of your cellular structure that's awakening. You don't know quite what it is yet, but there is something that is telling you that the place that you are standing, breathing, and operating no longer can support you. It is caving in under you. If you don't move, you're going through. You are falling through. We have been stagnated, stagnant, atrophied in our consciousness. It's like we are looking for a way out. And everybody tries to reconstruct what the old model is. Nobody is giving anyone clues to where the escape hatch is. They just keep redefining and redecorating the same crap over and over again and spoon-feeding you with a whole new shiny cover. And you go out and buy it at twice the price of yesterday. And from people who pimped it and are selling it back to you at 10 times the price. All that you are about to listen to, all that you are about to hear, all that you are about to share, what we are about to do today is you. I've just been chosen to tell you what it is you were supposed to be telling yourself, or what you had put down in your contract when you took flesh to come back to listen to. This is no accident. You are no accident. We are here for a purpose. What I do is I usually preface what I have to speak about with certain items that I think are of great interest. And I think that given the volume of what I must put on tape, being that this is Matrix 3, I wanted to just make it a trilogy, but it seems that a lot of brothers and sisters are coming to me and asking me to continue and to extend the series to Matrix 4. Well, I don't know whether or not you're ready to assimilate 1, 2, and 3 yet. And I don't want to get ahead of us. I'm not just saying you, because as the so-called information comes through and has me writing all hours of the night, I don't even know sometimes what I'm writing. But I'm going to put it down. So what I'm going to do is just to pass this piece of information out. Some guy was on Art Bell. Y'all familiar with him, right? He's government. Oh. Yeah, I was going to just explain this first. I'm just going to pass it around just to let you see. They have taken a picture of a allegedly real alien that was found in a forest one day. This guy went up into his forest. He's up in the woods, way back in Oregon someplace, I guess. And as he was up there, his dog went in and disappeared into the woods. And as his dog was barking and yelling, he went up after the dog, trying to find the dog, came upon the dog, and saw that the dog had some small item, or what looked like a little boy, caught. So he kept yelling the name of the dog. You know, Duke, let him go. Duke, let him go. As he approached closer to the scene, he saw that it was not the dog that had the little boy, it's the little boy that had the dog. So he rolled up on him and he started talking to this little boy, what he thought was a little boy, until the little boy turned to him and he saw it wasn't no little boy. Then he began to look at the dog, and he saw that the dog's face began to melt. Of course, he was scared, you know how. And he took up a stick and hit it upside the head, knocked it unconscious, whereupon everything around him began rustling, like all the trees started rustling and the bushes started rustling. He went over to the scene and saw that this thing, whatever it was laying there bleeding. He picked up a big blanket, rolled it up in it, and dumped it into his freezer. He went and had the awareness and steadfast mind enough to take pictures of it. Now, I couldn't get this off the net, or the guy who gave it to me couldn't get it off the net well enough because he didn't have a digital processor and digital printer. So the pictures that I'm going to give to you are of this thing that was taken, this picture that was taken. And I'm going to pass it around so that you could look at it and judge for yourself. All y'all who believe in aliens and little creatures, this is good. This one is supposed to be the best one. Now, how many of y'all saw End of Days? That was the worst damn picture I had ever seen in my life. It was stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. And you know what? You can tell that the archons of religion are desperate. They want to push this Savior on you, but now it's you sisters that are going to be enlisted. You all are now going to be the Messiah. How many saw Dogma? Now y'all need to go see that one over this one, because Dogma got more information in it than this garbage. Now, if you look at End of Days, just to explain it for anybody who wants to go and see it, You got to watch this thing called the Agnus Dei, which was supposed to be the eye of Heru, and you see the moon with a comet passing over it look like an eyebrow. You see this man walk up Agnus Dei, and he went to the worst Satanist who's sitting there looking like the only pious person on the planet, the Pope, saying, oh, we must have faith, we must have this steadfastness, we will beat this beast. Now, this is supposed to be the sign of the return of the Messiah, but this time the Messiah is the beast. Not letting you realize that the beast is sitting in the Vatican already, because the people that they had already set to go and kill this female so that she did not consummate and have intercourse with the beast, who was an angel. Remember the black angel he called him, the dark angel, who came up out of hell to make love to her so that they can bring the end of days upon everybody. This is the new nativity, the new annunciation. Now, no one consummated with this female. So essentially, the chosen one is now the female walking around on earth who never consummated with anybody. You know who she's supposed to be, right? She's taken on both your roles. She is now the Christ Redeemer and the Virgin Mary at the same time. Now, soldiers trying to kill her were thwarted. Every time something would happen, you would see that every time the soldiers of Christ would come to try to kill this woman, they would be thwarted. And in the beginning, the Pope said, we got to protect her. Wait a minute, there's a faction in the Vatican that's trying to kill her. Why is the Pope trying to protect her? The hero's name is what? Jericho. Jericho? What does Jericho mean? Jericho is the structure of matter, where all the elementals took form and shape. And when they talk about the walls of Jericho come tumbling down, it means that the walls of a particular paradigm have fallen. And then a new paradigm was supposed to come about. At the end, he throws himself upon the sword of St. Michael. All of this symbolic, all of this desperation to try to get you to come back to church. Because you're not going for the okie doke anymore. You're here. This is church. That crap that's based and steeped in ritualism that ain't got nothing to do with any kind of original context that belong to you, that's what they're doing in church. Pokemon. How many of y'all took your innocent children to see that garbage? Come on now, y'all confess up. We amongst friends. Do you know what Pokemon means? Pocket monster. Do you know where it originated? In Japan. Do you know the story around Pokemon? Do you know that the original cartoons were drawn over a high definition and broadcast over a high definition television to at least a portion, a test portion of the Japanese people? And over 500 children almost went insane. Because the specific technology that they had put into the eyes of the monsters, the little monsters, they kept flickering at a certain time. And the children began to be psychologically entrained with certain types of information. Just like who took your children to see The Lion King? Did you see that when The Lion King, at the time when the young king was looking for his father in the heavens, did you see when the smoke went rising up from where he was standing at the precipice, the word sex was written in it? You need to go back and look at your Disney cartoons. The word sex is written inside of the smoke, not once, twice. That's what they're programming your children with. The Pokemon is being established right now through specific entrainment ways. These are based upon specific demons, little demons that were dealing with children, that only came around and was specific to little children. And the one thing about them that got the children so into them was their innocence, that they were so friendly looking. Now, every time one of these crazies happen, because you think your children are going to make you crazy inside of your house, To keep them quiet, you go give them a spoon of whatever this garbage is. Sisters and brothers, you got to have more strength than that over your children. Because if your children are going to start dictating your behavior, you got a problem. You got a problem. The Pokemon was based upon some form of demonic message, and the children that got sick and the few that died were there rejecting the programming. Now they had tempered the information so that you can now easily assimilate it. But the children that got sick told them which frequencies worked, which ones were too much, and which would work on a broader base scale. And they had honed it and got it perfected over there before they had this mass madness hit here, through England, through the Church of Rome, through that beast woman who is the Queen of England, that shape-shifting lizard that sits on the throne. Now, I wanted to drop some information to my Moorish brothers, my Moor brothers. And I know we know that the Sister Empress and a lot of the brothers and sisters were out there who are dealing in problems of the court system, that fictitious game room they call justice, where you go in there and you pull the switch and wait for it to all come up oranges or lemons or whatever, so you think you're going to win. How much you got to put into that thing before you think you're getting anything back? And when you get something back, you only get chump change anyway. Well, I got something here that I think will interest you, and I think you should take down the website when I get to it. We're about to embark on a journey of discovery from which you may never return the same. I have just concluded several weeks of discussions with an intense weekend of highly focused learning. Now this is from, I got to get his name for you. They don't put the name out there. It's called Truth Technology. I have just concluded weeks of discussions with an intense weekend of highly focused learning. The learning has to do with the most advanced and successful means to attain redress of grievances, truth, justice, and freedom that exists or perhaps ever was on the planet. Now that's part of the lie. Many people have come to the dire conclusion that the courts are no longer interested in justice. Clue. This is true as we pursue, or as they pursue, public policy. It's the difference between law and public policy, which has little to do with the preservation of rights and interests of the so-called citizen creator of the government. The government has become both big business and big brother. If you have ever had a big brother, you know they're always whipping up on you because you were the little brother. Now, in the coming months, you will be shared tidbits that will give you some idea, certainly not the full education, because a full education on what's really happening on this country is going to seriously blow your mind. You're going to throw everything up in the air, and you ain't going to want to go back to work. You ain't going to want to come out your door. The whole truth around sovereignty, freedom, and how to attain it, and to achieve the closest thing to full immunity from government oppression and control that now exists. You can forget about all that talk in freedom circles about how to go into court and argue your constitutional rights. That's a lot of garbage. How to argue statutory tricks. That's a lot of garbage. And how to argue federal code pleading lawsuits. That's the biggest crock of garbage. The attorney versus your attorney, my attorney versus yours. Once you understand how all of the above is pure fiction, you will be able to step out of the fiction and into the reality, which is the only place sovereignty, authority, or sovereign authority exists. As a real sovereign individual who is not in the fiction of the status quo systems, you will not only have the upper hand, the jurisdiction of your court operating on your rules and on your terms, but you will be part of a new legal technology that is currently sweeping the planet, albeit in its very early stages. Y'all better listen to me. Y'all better listen real good. This is not an unproven theory. It is not a philosophical ideology that amounts to wishful thinking. This is real. And to give you an idea of how real it is, just take notice of the following. 1, a man in Alaska was given a traffic ticket, thrown in jail, and beaten up badly. His federal suit was ignored, as you can expect. And with the aid of this technology and procedure, his case was adjudicated under international law in the Supreme Court of Russia. The judgment in his favor of $58 million was accepted and lodged in the World Court in The Hague, Netherlands, and he will sell his commercial paper to the international bankers for 110% of its value. Now, my brother Moors know what I'm talking about. Sister Maurinas, you know what I'm talking about. But see, those people who do not understand don't know what I'm talking about. But you better get ready. 2, 3 federal judges in Hawaii tried to ignore this technology when it showed up on their federal court. Those 3 judges were promptly arrested. The replacements thought they could get away with the same thing and ignore it. Those plus 2 more who got involved, 5 to 8 judges in all, are now arrested and incarcerated. 3, this technology has been to the World Court under international law 4 times. And it has been accepted, and the rulings in the plaintiff's favor has been attained 4 times. 4, now check this out. Major corporations, which are essentially household names, you won't know them. I know you would know them, but we won't say them, are adopting this technology. Major banking organizations are seeking ways to exit the fiction. Check it out. Seeking ways to exit the fiction because they see the liability of playing inside of the fiction and move into sovereign realm. But check this out. One insurance company held a high-level meeting with its staff of executives and attorneys. Once they understood the impact of this technology, 5 of the 7 attorneys quit immediately. The remaining 2 said they wouldn't touch this even though the executives decided that their company would move in this direction. You see, attorneys only are licensed to practice in law or at law, which are both fictitious. They cannot practice in the truth. They can only practice in law or at law. And if you go into courts talking about you being per se, you are coming in under their jurisdiction. If you don't go in impropriety persona, you don't go in by yourself as a sovereign, an alien to this particular fictitious state, you have brought yourself under their jurisdiction. Costa Rica, check this out. How many of y'all got C-SPAN? Get ready. Costa Rica is planning on providing the funding to educate the world of its technology right now, of its existence, by broadcasting introductory segments on C-SPAN worldwide. 8, the Russian Supreme Court judge who did that particular case wants as many of these lawsuits in his court as he can get because they become very profitable to the plaintiff. 8, currently, we know at least 1 country where the sheriffs and deputies and judges are taking courses on this technology. And what does this all mean? It means that if you do not understand and understand that if you come into the courts with that particular gold bordering that you see in that particular room, and you have no force, you are there as a person of defect. You have no mind of your own. When you hire a lawyer, you hire a foreign agent, which means you have no brain, which means that you are a ward of the court. And if you look up ward of the court, it means that you are mentally deficient. So, if you do not understand and stand in your proper person before an international court under human guidelines, under who you are, not even human, because human, because human being, if you look up the terminology for human being, it means monster. So you don't want to be no monster. So you are an enlightened child of the one most high. And I stand in my proper person here as a representation of that. I am God. Now, if you lock me up, do you know that you could win a suit? Because if you lock me up, you have taken away my reproductive rights, which is part of my biologically God-given right to do. So that's tantamount to genocide. Do you know that? Do you know you could take that particular case to the international courts? Check that. Now, website. I don't know how these things work because I don't go into virtual reality. I only deal with reality. So y'all who know what I'm talking about are going to have to deal with this. http : / to the right, www. I sound really stupid, don't I? www.listbot, listbot.com. That's the website. Listbot, listbot.com. Now that will bring you into becoming a member, and there are different places where you can log into. There's one that says the archives, then there's the VIP membership that really gives you all the dirt that's going on around the world and keeps you up to date on how the new court system is going to happen. Now, do you know that the Bilderbergers are meeting? The Bilderbergers are meeting sometime Monday or Tuesday. The Bilderbergers were formed when this planet was visited by extraterrestrials. And all of the European heads came together and found out that there were too many dark people on that spaceship, and said that, because they were out of Sirius, and said that we got to do things to organize to give the monies and so-called riches that we pimped from the planet back. Do you know that there was an international meeting of indigenous peoples of the planet, and that all the industrial nations made a vow that I think by the year 2006 that they're going to start relinquishing the lands they took by force? Because there is an overwhelming force about to hit this planet, and they know it's on them, and it's coming from us. They know it. Now, how many got a chance to review my Matrix 1 videotape? Okay. Nobody got a chance to see Matrix 2 yet, which I don't think it came down here yet because I got that. So I think there's going to be a gap that I'm going to have to fill, because I'm probably going to have to do a dance over the net and play both sides of the tennis court so that you could understand and understand everything I'm about to say. Now, what's happening is that in Matrix 1, well, I'm going to get to that. Boy, I don't know where to begin. You know, I just have to get into a zone. And once I get into the zone, you're going to have to forgive me. It's like everybody disappears. I get like a mad person. And I start getting that fever, and you know what it's about. All right. The previous lecture, which was Matrix 2, was called The Deconstruction of Consciousness and the Manipulation of Reality. And I'm going to see if I can make that tape, which was not really done very well because I was sidetracked by so many questions that I didn't get to the point. This one, which is a segue, which I hope will segue what 2 is to 3 and put 2 and 3 in context. This one is called Retrogenesis and the Proto-Physics of Anti-Reality. What was that? Now, the reason why I do these things, why I make these elaborate statements for what I'm about to say, is because it's time, brothers and sisters. It's time that we get out the okie-doke kindergarten languaging systems of definitions and defining our reality, because the reality we have is getting a lot more strict with what it's revealing. If you ain't vibrating on the frequency, if you are not seeing into what's happening, You are F-U-C-K-E-D, royally. Now, when I say retrogenesis, the word retro simply means backwards or behind. So what are we doing? We're talking about what went behind Genesis. What was Genesis? What are the realities that we can make real to recreate Genesis again at its purest level? Because this is over. We've done this. Been there, done that. How many times are we going to come back doing the same thing? Your 9 to 5 will tell you just how the drudgery of your reality has become. There is something new that is trying to be born inside of all of us, and it is constantly being stopped. It is being repressed constantly because we are paying attention constantly to this European who don't know what the hell he's doing anyway. We are supposed to be giving the guidance by who we are, not who we are educated to be. And if we don't understand and understand who we are from the time of the Genesis factor and have a regenesis, you might as well chalk it up. Lay down, die. We'll just put a little dirt on you. We'll say, well, this is another useless Negro. That's right. I was talking, and Reverend Al Sharpton said, he said, when he was doing it for Dr. Our Baba, our elder, Dr. John Henry Clark, he said, it is the hardest thing to talk at the funeral of a useless Negro. What are you going to say about him? What can you possibly say about him? It's about that was his shining moment. The nigga died. Anyway, retrogenesis, let's get behind Genesis, and the proto-physics, the first physics. Proto means prototype. The proto-physics. What are the proto-physics? Of anti-reality. Now, the reason why I say anti-reality and not the proto-physics of reality is because this reality has to be deconstructed before you can reconstruct a reality, a true reality. So, in retrogenesis and the proto-physics of anti-reality, there is a looking back within everything that we are going to do. We are going to go back into the nuance of creation. What are the subtleties? What is it that is being used as a tool to maintain the ceiling of your perception, the threshold of your reality? Why are we being kept so stupid as to who we are? Now, first thing is, I'm using words that you're going to recognize. Just because I use the word Genesis don't mean I'm going to hold this up as a place for you to go looking for yourself. Now, until you understand what really is in this, forget it. Because them no count TD snakes and who's that other Negro? Low Blow, Creflo, Pimpadala. What's it? All them house Negroes keep telling you what the Lord said. How is it the Lord talk only to them niggas? And all the niggas that's in there really say, yeah, you see them with their Bible, they underline and shit. They don't know what's going on. Anyway, Genesis is the coming to being of something. It's an origin. Retro, again, means something standing behind or situated behind. Proto means the earliest. Physics is the science of matter and energy and the interrelations between the two groups. The study of the natural or material world and phenomena, natural philosophy. Retrogenesis, or behind the origin of becoming into being, and the first form master energy phenomenon of the anti-real. That's what it is when you break it down. Now, to review. Are you ready? In Matrix 1, we shared about the corporeal psychospiritual agreement that has trapped us in third density light code lockdown. How many of you got my light code transmissions and looked at that one? That's where I began to introduce the fact that light is the transport system for consciousness. and that your sun is the program, and that the specific valences, light frequencies, the heat, the temperatures are all information. All of it is information. That because of what they have done to you and what they're doing now has kept a ceiling on your reality. We spoke about words and language and their use to reinforce perceptual thresholds. We spoke about genetics and how genes have become the targets of the archon adversaries. We spoke about the fact that species exist to spiritualize matter according to their own cosmic code of illumination, encoded into the genes by the species' Merkaba programming. We spoke about genes as the organizational code breakers, and that Yaku and his renegade Elohim geneticists are violating the hidden sanctuaries, the genetic library of our archetypal purpose as God beings, tampering with the mechanisms in the genes, the DNA and the chromosomes, so as to interface with the evolutionary time sequencing codes that were preset by our species' seed Merkaba to initiate cellular metamorphosis. What have they done? Inside of your genes are the codes for you to break out of certain structured realities that were just made temporarily for your learning process. You don't stay in 5th grade. This particular body is but a process towards a specific eventuality that will never come to an end. You are stuck here. We spoke about the sun and its hydrogen being directly connected to the DNA's hydrogen matrix as well as the planet's hydrogen matrix. And lastly, in Matrix 1, we spoke again of how language, as developed by our ancestors through countless eons of incarnational experience, was traumatically mutilated by the archon adversaries. We were force-fed a language devoid of the higher mystical tones, vocal fluctuations, and resonant melodies, a language that atrophied and calcified neuronic pathways. We spoke about how our new mutant language is a language communicated on frequencies of fear. In other words, our inherited language, English, is a frequency resonator of fear. It was and is utilized by a traumatized consciousness paradigm. The English language is a frequency that continually enlists and activates our instincts for self-preservation. So if you want to self-preserve, it means you want to self-preserve what you are. And if you self-preserve who you are locked down into this particular paradigm. This fear has been nurtured into a tangible reality. How has it been nurtured into a tangible reality? It has been nurtured to the point where you now bear the evidence of your fear as living tissue. You bear the evidence of your fear as living tissue, going all the way back to that time when that bastard, what's his name? Who did that speech on the now? Willie Lynch. At that point, the programming began to stick. And you see what happens is when they start manipulating your mind is a creative instrument. Your fear began to become tangible. And that tangibility had to have a conduit for it to be constructed. And now your nerves have this weed growing around it. This weed constructed of your fear. This living tissue that has manifested and grown to become an integral part of your corporeal body experience. In Matrix 2, we spoke of how the archetypal memory of our God selves is trapped in a time-space tomb, buried in the grave of language. Buried in the grave of language. We spoke about how our choice to draw in Lucifer in the quest to expose evil and to spiritualize matter. Now that shit gets people getting all crazy. Oh my God, did he say that we were part of Lucifer's band? Yes. The very fact you took flesh. Who was Lucifer? Lucifer was the first rebel. Lucifer was the first to question authority. You are children of Lucifer. Ain't that what you're doing all the time? We shall overcome. the geometric systems of physicality, how the corporeal body is condensed into matter through crystalline gravitational fields of magnetized light. We spoke about the Merkaba and its holographic, holospectral, holomental, and holoperceptual vehicle that interlaces through different dimensional thresholds to provide the pathway for those who are really free of fear. We spoke about Lucifer was the first revolutionary, the first to question authority, that Lucifer's mission was God's own intrinsic evil, to expose God's own intrinsic evil. Because the evil of God was that it was ignorant of itself. See, that's another concept that you got to get next to. You got to understand what melanin is and who melanin is. You understand? That's dark matter consciousness. We got to restructure the name until we get it to I call it the Sheshekem-Ur. Dark matter consciousness. Melanin ain't a thing. Melanin ain't a color. That's why they can't study melanin. You can't study melanin. Can't touch it. Because every time they try to touch it, it breaks apart in their hands. Because what they see is an effect. They don't have a clue as to what cause is. And melanin is an ever-burgeoning, ever-evolving cause. It is the dark matter consciousness made flesh. You, brothers and sisters. And if you understood what dark matter consciousness was, oh. We spoke about the fact that man raises up Lucifer. Man redeems Lucifer when man raises himself or herself. Man sets Lucifer free of his primal obligations as the light bearer, that being mind's teacher. Lord knows y'all keep getting it wrong, so y'all have to keep learning it over and over again.